Hello, science enthusiasts. Today, we'll talk about a concept that is an inevitable reality of all our lives, one we write songs about, make movies about, and ponder deeply. Death. But wait, not about death today, but about the first death in the history of life, or rather, how the concept of death emerged. Have you ever wondered? Where there is life, death seems inevitable. But was it always like this? Who invented death and why? Let's go back to the beginning of life, billions of years ago. The first living things were single-celled organisms that appeared in oceans or hot springs. Bacteria, archaea. The main purpose of these organisms was to survive and reproduce. So, did these first organisms die? The answer is a bit complicated. These simple organisms usually reproduce by dividing in two. Binary fission, meaning one parent cell transforms into two daughter cells. In this process, the parent cell doesn't technically die. Its existence continues in two new forms, unless affected by external factors, extreme temperature, chemicals, predators, or lack of nutrients. This division could potentially continue forever. So, in this sense, the concept of natural death due to aging, as we understand it, didn't really exist for the first single-celled organisms. They could be considered potentially immortal. As biochemist Nick Lane states in his book, Life Ascending, they could theoretically divide forever unless external factors intervened. But then, a revolutionary event occurred on the evolutionary stage, multicellularity. About 1 billion years ago, some single-celled organisms began to form colonies, eventually evolving into complex organisms with specialized cells through division of labor. This is precisely where the concept of death was evolutionarily invented. Why? In a multicellular organism, not all cells are the same. Two main cell lines emerged. 1. Germ cells. These are responsible for reproduction and pass genetic information to the next generation, like sperm, egg. This is the line that theoretically carries potential immortality. 2. Somatic cells. These make up the rest of the organism: muscles, nerves, skin, bones. These cells do not directly participate in reproduction. Here's the crucial point. In the evolutionary process, it became more advantageous to direct energy towards protecting germ cells and reproduction, rather than spending resources trying to keep all cells alive forever. Soma cells, the cells that make up most of our body, were like a disposable tool. They would perform their duties, ensure the organism's survival and reproduction, and then they would die. This distinction is a key concept proposed by evolutionary biologist August Weismann in the 19th century, known as the Weismann barrier. This idea was later further developed by scientists like Thomas Kirkwood in studies on the evolution of aging. So why did somatic cells have to die? Let's consider why evolution adopted death as a strategy. 1. Resource management. Disposable soma theory. Constantly repairing the body and keeping it alive forever requires an enormous energy cost. According to the idea developed by Thomas Kirkwood, known as the disposable soma theory, evolution decided it was more efficient to invest this energy in reproduction. So, according to Kirkwood, it was sufficient for the body, soma, to remain in good enough condition until reproduction was successful. 2. Damage accumulation and cancer risk. Over time, DNA damage accumulates in cells. Uncontrolled proliferation of these damaged cells can lead to cancer. Programmed cell death, foster apoptosis, and death associated with aging are ways to get rid of potentially dangerous cells, as highlighted in the famous The Hallmarks of Aging review article by Lopez Otin and colleagues published in Cell. 3. Development and tissue renewal. Death doesn't only happen in old age. The separation of our fingers during development in the womb is caused by the programmed death of cells in between. This process is detailed in basic textbooks like Molecular Biology of the Cell by Alberts and colleagues. As also stated in these sources, Billions of cells in our body die in a controlled manner, apoptosis, every day to maintain tissue integrity and ensure renewal. This is proof of how necessary death is for life. 4. Evolutionary flexibility. Having a limited lifespan allows generations to change more rapidly. This enables species to adapt more quickly to changing environmental conditions. New generations come with new genetic combinations, accelerating the adaptation process. This is one of the fundamental evolutionary principles emphasized in works like Evolution by evolutionary biologists such as Douglas Futuyma. So, in short, death as we know it, the inevitable end associated with aging and internal mechanisms, is a trait that evolved with the transition from the simplicity of single-celled life to the complexity of multicellular life. It's not a mistake or a flaw, but part of the survival and reproductive strategy of multicellular organisms. Potential immortality, as explained in the theories of scientists like Weismann and Kirkwood, gave way to the germline carrying genetic information and somatic cells that exit the stage after completing their task. Death is a tragic yet necessary part of life. It is the price of multicellular complexity, and at the same time, one of the keys to evolutionary success. This journey from the potential immortality of single-celled organisms to the programmed mechanisms that bring about our own end once again shows what an incredibly complex process life is. So, how exactly does this programmed cell death, or apoptosis, work? Inside the cell, there are special proteins that act like a suicide squad. These are called caspase enzymes. These enzymes, normally inactive, are activated upon receiving a specific signal, for instance, when there's irreparable DNA damage, or when the cell has completed its developmental task. Once activated, caspases create a domino effect, dismantling the cell skeleton, cleaving its DNA, and neatly packaging the cell into small vesicles. These vesicles are then swallowed up by neighboring scavenger cells, phagocytes, like a garbage collection service. This way, they are eliminated without causing damage or inflammation to the surroundings. This process plays a vital role not only in aging, but also in cancer prevention and the proper functioning of our immune system. Cancer is essentially the uncontrolled proliferation of cells that have managed to evade the apoptosis mechanism. Therefore, inventing death is a genius solution that evolution devised not only to ensure renewal between generations, but also to maintain order and health within the organism itself. The harmonious cooperation of trillions of cells in our body depends on the sacrifice of those that are old, damaged, or no longer needed. This is the renunciation of individual cellular immortality to ensure that the massive multicellular colony to which they belong, that is, us, can live longer and healthier as a whole. So, is it possible to slow down or stop this programmed death? Anti-aging research is searching for the answer to this very question. Scientists are studying the fundamental mechanisms of cellular aging, such as telomere shortening, cellular cleanup processes, autophagy, and damage repair systems. Perhaps in the future, instead of eliminating death entirely, we might succeed in slowing down the aging process to achieve a longer and healthier somatic lifespan. In conclusion, if death is an invention, its inventor is not a single entity, but the billion-year-long process of evolution itself. It is the most radical, most tragic, but perhaps the most brilliant strategy that life found to sustain, diversify, and adapt itself. If you enjoyed this interesting journey, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. If there were no death, what do you think would be the biggest challenge for humanity and our planet? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. See you in the next video. Stay with science.